Hello and welcome. I'm Reshma Shah, a pediatrician, an award-winning author, a mom, and a home cook. I have to admit that I have a bit of a sweet tooth, and at any given time, you can find some sort of a sweet treat in our house. And while I love a great decadent dessert, for my day in and day out treats, I like to use things that are made with more wholesome ingredients. So things like oats and nuts, and if you saw my recent video on the cookie that changed the way that I feed my family, even chickpeas in my sweet treats. Today, I'm going to share a recipe that's inspired by two different desserts. The first being carrot cake, and the second being an Indian dessert called gajar ka halwa. Gajar meaning carrot and halwa meaning sweet. I basically married these two ideas together and turned them into a ball. These spiced carrot cake balls are just perfect in the afternoon with a cup of tea or when you want a sweet treat in the lunchbox. This recipe has so many wholesome ingredients, including oats, nuts, and yes, even vegetables, a good amount of carrots. But the real star of this recipe are all of the spices, which give these spiced carrot cake balls a unique and delicious flavor. To make these carrot cake balls, you're going to need a food processor, and I process the ingredients in various stages so that the components maintain their structure. You're going to start with about 3 small carrots, peeled and cut into large chunks. You could also use 1 to 2 large carrots depending on the size. And I'm just going to pulse them until they're finely grated. And you can scrape down the sides as you go. I've got my finely grated carrot and I'm just going to empty that into a bowl. And you can see how beautifully vibrant these carrots are. To the same food processor, you don't have to worry too much about cleaning it out in between. I'm going to add 1 cup of rolled oats, and I'm just going to pulse this a couple of times. Next, I'm going to add half a cup of toasted almonds that have just been roughly chopped. And again, you're going to just pulse this a few times. You want it to form sort of a coarse texture. You don't want it into a powder, and I'll show you what it looks like. And you can see it's sort of like a rough, sandy texture. I used almonds, but if you wanted more of a traditional carrot cake feel, you could also use chopped walnuts. And then I'm just going to add 1 cup of finely shredded unsweetened coconut. You really don't need to pulse this too much. It's just to incorporate all the ingredients. And then finally, the thing that we've been waiting for, all the spices. I've got 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, ½ a teaspoon of ground ginger, and ½ a teaspoon of ground cardamom. I also like to add just a pinch of salt. It brings out the sweetness. And again, just pulse a couple times to combine. I have nothing in the oven, but it's already smelling so amazing just from the spices alone. Next, I'm gonna add about a cup of pitted dates. This is about 10 dates, and these dates are from my farmer's market, and so they're actually already pretty soft. But if your dates are a little bit on the drier side, you can soak them in some warm water for about 10 minutes to soften them. I find that breaking the dates into pieces helps to incorporate them a little bit better into the mixture. And again, I'm just gonna pulse this a few times to break down the dates and incorporate them a little bit better. And then next, I have about ¼ cup of creamy almond butter. I find that the almond butter gives it a nice flavor, and it also helps to bind the mixture together. And a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, so this is where you're gonna wanna give your mixture a little bit of a taste and a little bit of a squeeze. So you wanna taste it for sweetness. I think that sometimes, depending on how big your dates are, you may wanna add a little more sweetness, and you also want the mixture to sort of come together when you press it so that you know it's gonna form a ball. And you can see my mixture is a little bit crumbly, so it needs a little bit more wetness. And I'm gonna give it a taste. And I think that it also needs a little bit of sweetness. So I'm gonna add just about 2 tablespoons of additional maple syrup to give it a little extra sweetness and also to help the mixture bind together. Okay, so let's give it another little squeeze. Okay, this is much better. I feel very confident that my balls are gonna hold together at this point. And another little taste. Okay, I think that's gonna be just perfect, especially since I'm gonna be adding some golden raisins, which will give these carrot cake balls some additional sweetness. And next, I'm just gonna pour this mixture into a bowl, along with my shredded carrots and ½ a cup of golden raisins. And you're just gonna mix this to combine all the ingredients. Before I form the balls, I just wanna show you how gorgeous this mixture looks. It's so colorful and it's really, really fragrant as well. So at this point, I just kind of like to roll up my sleeves and get in there and sort of combine the ingredients with my hands. And to make this into balls, I like to use a mini ice cream scoop. If you don't have a mini ice cream scoop, you could also use a tablespoon, and you're just going to form it into a ball. use your hands to kind of press the mixture together and then roll it into a ball. When I make this recipe, it usually makes about 16 to 18 nice sized balls. You're gonna wanna chill these carrot cake balls for about 30 minutes, and you can store them in an airtight container that'll last in the refrigerator for several days. You could also place them in the freezer and bring them out as you want to enjoy them. I hope that you'll give these spiced carrot cake balls a try. I love that you can see all the beautiful flecks of carrot and the golden raisins throughout. In fact, I think it's time for my afternoon cup of tea and a little taste. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, make sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more plant-based recipes as well as nutrition and cooking tips, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.